Rick Massey just dropped a prediction that's sending shockwaves through the tennis world and putting everyone on edge.
Guys, let's talk about the #1 player in the world, Iga. Yes, Iga. It's amazing.
The legendary coach who helped shape Serena Williams just made a bold prediction about who he believes will dominate the WTA in 2026, and it's already stirring up serious controversy. Instead of backing Coco Gauff, America's golden girl and the reigning Australian Open champion, he completely passed her over. That alone raised eyebrows, but the real shock came when he revealed who he chose instead. That's where the tension really starts. It's one of those moments where someone picks one star over another in public, and you can instantly tell the backlash is coming. Fans, analysts, and players are already reacting, and the debate is getting heated fast. Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this situation is turning out to be way messier than anyone saw coming.
This is a stat, you just can't make this up. 13 times she gave a bagel. Yeah, fresh out of the oven at the French Open. People don't realize at the highest level, to beat someone 6-0 is very difficult. It just adds to her greatness. She's locked, she's loaded, always ready to launch. Okay, Iga, one of the greatest clay court players ever, okay, especially at Roland Garros.
So Rick Massey, the man who helped shape Serena Williams into the legend she became, just went on social media and basically told the entire tennis world that Coco Gauff is not his pick to dominate women's tennis in 2026. Instead, he's putting all his chips on Iga Świątek, calling her the Polish Punisher and predicting she'll be back at #1 before May. His exact words on Twitter were that while Gauff, Sabalenka, and Mira Andreeva all have a chance, Iga is the one who's already proven herself and will keep growing and moving forward. Nice little rhyme there, Rick. Very subtle. Now let's talk about why this take is blowing people's minds. Coco Gauff just won the Australian Open. She's the defending champion at one of the 4 biggest tournaments in tennis. She's only 20 years old and already has multiple Grand Slam titles. She's American, which means massive fan support, huge media attention, and non-stop endorsements. And Rick Massey looked at all of that and still said, "Nah, I'm going with the Polish player instead." The confidence is almost impressive. But here's what really makes this situation interesting. Massey isn't some random coach chasing engagement with hot takes. This is the same guy who coached Venus and Serena Williams early in their careers. He's been around the sport forever and is widely respected for his tennis knowledge. So when he says something like this, people listen. And that's exactly why this snub of Coco Gauff isn't going to fade away quietly. It's going to stick around, especially if and when Gauff goes out there and proves him wrong.
And now if we go to the WTA, you got Iga Świątek from Poland, 5 Grand Slams, brutal angles. She reminds me of Martina Hingis on steroids with the angles that she gets. When you have those type of angles, you open up the court like the Red Sea. Okay, it takes a person a few more steps to get there, but more importantly, a few more to come back. So that's why she's brutal on clay. Okay, a little tougher on faster courts because she has a Western grip, sometimes gets jammed, but mentally she's rock solid. I think she'll have a bucket, double-figure Grand Slams when it's all said and done.
The timing of this prediction honestly makes it even funnier because we're heading into 2026 with Coco Gauff carrying serious momentum. She's coming off an Australian Open title, she's clearly leveled up since working with Brad Gilbert, and she's playing with confidence, hunger, and maturity that you usually don't see from someone her age. She looks locked in and comfortable in her game right now. And yet, Rick Massey looks at all of that and says the real future dominator is the player who didn't win the Australian Open last year. Bold choice. Now, to be fair, Iga Świątek is an incredible player. Nobody's denying that. She's got 5 Grand Slam titles, 4 of them at the French Open. She's been world #1 before, and her baseline, grind, and style is so relentless it makes opponents mentally fold. She absolutely belongs in the conversation. The problem isn't picking Iga. The problem is how Mackey did it. He framed his take in a way that clearly snubbed Gauff, who has done everything right recently. Even the whole Polish Punisher nickname feels forced, like something invented just to go viral. It sounds more like a wrestling gimmick than a tennis nickname, and it adds to the feeling that this was more about making noise than offering balanced analysis. What makes it even more awkward is Mackey's connection to Serena Williams, who has always been openly supportive of young American players and has praised Coco Gauff multiple times. So seeing Serena's former coach publicly dismiss Gauff in favor of a European player feels strange, even if Mackey technically doesn't owe anyone loyalty. The optics just aren't great. Fans noticed immediately, pointing out the irony of a coach whose legacy is tied to developing two young black American prodigies, now overlooking another young black American star, who is literally the defendant Australian Open champion. Some people think it's just a bad prediction. Others think there's more behind it. Either way, it's messy. And when you make bold predictions in sports, you better be right, because if you're not, the internet is gonna cook you. Mackey didn't just say Iga will have a good year. He said she'll be #1 before May and described her as more proven than Gauff, which is a claim that can be checked very quickly. If Gauff is the one lifting trophies instead, those tweets are going to age terribly. The comparison between Gauff and Swiatek is interesting because they represent very different styles. Iga is methodical and grinds opponents mentally down. Gauff is explosive, athletic, fast, and still evolving. Iga has had longer sustained success at #1, but Gauff is younger and has already proven she can win on the biggest stages. Both can dominate women's tennis, but Mackey went out of his way to say Gauff isn't his pick, and that's where the shade comes in. If he had just praised Iga, nobody would care. Instead, he specifically mentioned Gauff and passed on her. That's not analysis, that's a statement. The inclusion of Mira Andreeva also raised eyebrows. She's 18 and extremely talented, but she hasn't won a Grand Slam yet, and somehow she still gets mentioned in the same breath, while the defending Australian Open champion doesn't get picked. That's where the math stops mathin'. Social media has been eating this up. Gauff fans are asking what more she needs to do to earn respect. Iga fans are happy, but also a little uncomfortable with how it came at Gauff's expense. Neutral fans are just enjoying the chaos. And if Gauff and Swiatek meet in a Grand Slam final and Gauff wins, Mackey's tweets are getting pulled up instantly. Tennis Twitter never forgets. There's also a bigger conversation here about how women's tennis players are evaluated. Gauff has multiple Grand Slams, finals appearances, and wins on different surfaces, yet there's always hesitation to fully embrace her as the future face of the sport. Meanwhile, others with similar or even lesser resumes often get more benefit of the doubt. Calling Iga more proven is strange when Gauff is literally proven she can win slams on hard courts, not just clay. And saying Iga will be #1 before May is a very specific timeline that puts pressure on her to dominate early season tournaments. If Gauff defends her Australian Open title, that prediction immediately looks shaky. Add injuries, form dips, and the unpredictability of tennis, and Mackey's confidence starts looking more like a gamble. The reality is 2026 will probably be shared dominance. Gauff will win big tournaments, Iga will win big tournaments, Sabalenka will be right there too. And when it's all said and done, we'll look back at this prediction and either call Mackey a genius or laugh at how wrong it was. One thing is guaranteed though, he created way more drama than necessary. What should have been a simple take turned into a public snub of the defending Australian Open champion. And in the social media era, that's a risky move that might come back to haunt him very soon.